Hello everyone, can you hear me?
Hello, yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Thank you, just for testing. Okay. Hello, Iva.
Yes, hi.
We are waiting for another minute and then we just start. Sharp. Okay. So let's start. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody could join who planned to do so. I'm Agnes Németh from the Karelian Institute from the University of Eastern Finland, and I am the coordinator of the ECoC-SME project funded by Interreg Europe. First of all, let me welcome all our speakers, roundtablists, and also the audience. I hope everybody can join who planned so. Our theme for the next almost 2 hours is cross-sectoral cooperation in promoting business and culture. And we'll be especially focusing on European practices in this room. We will start with presentations of good practices from Sweden and from Italy. And we reserved some 10 minutes for questions following the second presentation ended, so keep your questions until the second presentation is over. We know the time is very short, so I would like to ask you to send your questions in the chat if possible. If not, you can also raise your hands, of course, and you will be heard. In the second part of our session, fresh experiences from European capitals of culture projects will be discussed with the introduction of Aiva Rosenberga, a former member of the ECoC selection panel. And now, just not to waste too much time on my introduction, I ask everyone to keep their microphones silent during the presentations. I already did the setting, but in case you switch it on, don't forget to turn it off after you stopped. And let's begin now first with our first speaker session. And I would like to give the floor to Aurimas Rajanauskas from well, I don't know if he's sitting in Sweden or in Lithuania, but he's a program designer and lecturer at the Change Course program in Sweden, and he will talk more about this. So please, Aurimas, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Agnes, and good afternoon to everyone. I am sitting in Sweden at the moment, but I'm Lithuanian original. And some of the good examples that I will share today are from Colombia, and then it's spread to Denmark and Cape Town and Alytus, Lithuania. So it's both European and global. But let's start and let me share the screen, and we'll move from there. Can you see the screen? Can you give me some signs that it's all working? And,
yes.
Yes, wait a second. I will need to share this also later on. So, okay. Yes. So we're gonna look at the art of hosting and 101-day case, a potential method for generating local business and community engagement in the European capitals of culture. So before we start, just for like 20-30 seconds, think of one thing which needs changing in your city. Small or big, simple or complex. Yeah, and probably you got a lot of ideas, and some of them they're difficult to make happen, some of them they're easy. The question is why they don't happen. And very often they don't happen is because we need a community and a sense of a movement and some frameworks to help us move together to make these things happen. So what we look into the project called 100 in 1 day, and then how some of the art of hosting practices helped it to make it happen. So I'll just play a YouTube so you see what the project was about. And if you cannot see or anything, do any signs or waves. So then I'll drop you the link or we'll do some other, but it should work. So let's, it probably doesn't work for you now. Okay, stop share screen. Okay. Can you hear sound?
Everyone has a dream about their city or neighborhood's future. It can be small or big. And with this as a starting point, a group of young students came to Bogota in 2012 with the idea that anyone in any city around the world can have a direct influence on it if they get the right tools to do it.
Localidad de Puente Aranda, 100 en un día, en un solo día. Ajá, Colombia. Vive en mi vecindario, en una casa humilde ya hace muchos años. El rap vive en mi vecindario.
All expectations were exceeded when 3,000 citizens of Bogota made the 26th of May 2012 to the globally largest event of urban interventions. It was important that everyone was included in the development and execution of the day. Politicians, homeless, refugees, students and seniors from all groups of society and areas in town were asked for advice and at the same time asked to make their own interventions. This ended up with 250 interventions which covered a vast amount of themes and problems.
El sagrado vincula del matrimonio.
Others simply chose to use the day to spread joy and make people smile. Bogota has a tradition with alternative methods in urban development, which is a reason why the project was started in this city. Especially art and culture as an important element, and this day was no exception. Hundreds of thousands experienced the citizens' dreams in the streets of Bogota. And globally, even more saw videos, pictures, and read articles about the project. 11 months ago, a group of young students got an idea. That idea has now grown to become a global phenomenon. And this tells us that people all around the world have a want and a need to make their dreams for their cities come true, even though it's just for an hour or a day. And when that dream for our cities becomes something we can see, that's when we discover the potential and understand our role in making that dream come true.
Yes, so I'm going back to Kina. So what is 100 Day and how did it start and how was I involved in it? So I was studying in the school in Denmark called Chaos Pilot. It's an enterprising leadership or social entrepreneurship school. And on the fourth semester, we go to a totally different place from Denmark to get challenged. So we chose Bogota because that place was developing and a lot of things were happening and popping up. But Bogota has also an interesting history. So I don't know if you know this guy. It's Antanas Mockus. He was a mayor of Bogota a couple of times. He's also a son of Lithuanian expats, so he has Lithuanian roots, and I was really excited to go there. The reason why Antanas Mockus is known, because when he became a mayor, and even before, he did crazy stuff. He did urban interventions. Maybe you've heard it when one of the interventions, when the policeman who controlled the pedestrians crossings, he replaced with pantomime. And it looked like just doing something stupid, but apparently the death rates on roads, they dropped 6 times. So because people were more afraid to be laughed at than to get a fine. So he was finding the spots where to use interventions and culture to really tackle the values and make a change in the behavior of the people. He also himself dressed up as a super citizen. So C is for ciudadano, the citizen. He was running around, he was cleaning the graffiti, he was doing the things that he showed that we are the people who have to clean up our own town. And he played around with those interventions quite a lot. If you look from like roughly, it might look funny or stupid, but if you look more deeply, they had strong impact, and it brought more ownership and co-creation to the dwellers of the city. So what is an urban intervention and how do we define it? Christian Salazar, a lecturer of a Tadeo University in Bogota, says that an intervention is an event which shows the potential of Bogota and its citizens and offers a platform to notice the possible solutions. A span of intervention can be from an artistic act to a political one, from simple to complex, from serious to funny. So you saw some examples. It could be some people just want to have more spiritual activities and organize free yogas in the park. Some people thought you need a pedestrian crossing here, so you can do it. Some wanted to do a small performance, but you show the existing problem and a possible solution, and you just act on it here in the moment with the citizens themselves. So how come we, and what did Chaos Pilots do with that? We came to Bogota and we had an assignment from school. We had to work with 10 local businesses and we had to do 6 urban interventions in 4 months, involving all the students and the locals. And the reason for that was that, of course, we want to continue and build on what Antanas Mockus was doing, but also we need news stories. Those stories were from 96 or even before 94. So what can we build up in 2012? And yes, some ideas were being developed. People were talking and we had to make 6 interventions, but it kind of didn't really motivate the number 6. So one thing, a couple of my classmates were having a beer or wine and they're like, what if we go really crazy to motivate us? Like, what if we do 100? And they went really brainstorming, but like, what if we do 100 in one day? And these numbers, they really kind of stuck because it had a lot of energy, but it became really clear there will be one day that this will be happening. And they made a statement that the 26th of May 2012, Bogota will change forever. We're doing 100 interventions. Do you want to join us? So that was a clear statement, and it really flipped things around and invited people to join into this. And the beauty of it was that it was temporary. So it's one day. If we say we want to change a city forever and the culture will change forever, it's kind of tough. Probably not everything will change. But would we like to try to have one different day? So that was really strong. How it was happening. So the students went out to the streets. Because being a foreigner, had to discover what's happening and what people dream about. So we talked to locals and we asked, so what is Bogota for you? What is your dream about Bogota? How would you describe that town? So it was a lot of interaction and discovering things. Then we asked them to dream about the possible reality, and we started inviting them to meetings. Why did they come, and together we would help you make this happen. Will be a project called 101 Day, and we will have a chance to execute your dream. So we set the frames, the meetings, the day of interventions, the things are happening. Then we have the day of intervention actually happening. We anchor, we harvest all the learnings, and we spread it out and see what it could be brought to the future. Yes. So I just went through some of those questions. So it was really positive to focus on the dream and see what they dream about. That's why I asked you, what do you dream of? And to focus on the locals, what they dream about. If you want a bench in your yard, that's good enough. How can we help you make this happen? If you want to have more spiritual activities, how can we happen? If you want to have gay marriages, how can we prototype and play with this? But it wasn't coming from Audimus, it wasn't coming from Chaos Pilots. We made a platform which helped the locals to bring their dreams, to find the like-minded people and try to go for it. Yes, and we had a core team ourselves of 7 people, and we invited the core team of the locals to step in to facilitate the process. And because we didn't know Spanish too well, at some level we kind of gave up and we're like, we have to give it to locals because they're the locals, we lose too much energy. So we had to train the local team to continue it. I think that was very important. They facilitated processes, the meetings, core team, and some tools that we used. I have a video from South Africa, but I'll not show it. You'll get all the links before. You'll get them after. But here's an example of how it more or less happens. So this is from Copenhagen. They did a year after. So 21st of March, they say, like, let's make a network. Let's invite all people who care about Copenhagen. Then we say we find 1 day a week, and we'll have 5 weeks where we meet up and we'll go through the process. We'll hear the needs, we'll develop ideas, we'll build the teams. So we have 5 meetings. Then we have the execution day. We go out and we do it. And then we have the evaluation. So we evaluate what happened and what have we learned. But also in the evaluation day, we invited municipality. So to talk. So what did you like? What could be brought and institutionalized this? Yeah, and then you're looking, so what's next? Do we repeat it next year? Do we replicate it in other towns? But physically, it looked very simple. A group of 1 university students with some help of the teachers invited other students. We started meetings, some people studying journalism, some were filming, some were doing. Young people want to act on something, and we created this short project. In Bogota, it was Wednesday evenings, and we know when we execute. And you can also see me in some of the pictures here sitting with my friend David. And David was telling me, like, you have no idea what you have just started. I'm like, probably we don't. What have we started? But it was good and amazing times to pick up this moment. More and more people were joining. Politicians were joining. They wanted to be together on this movement. And like when it becomes a big movement and it's happening, people want to jump in on this. After the execution, we thought like, okay, we're leaving as Danish, but how can we help build the core team that once we're gone, they stay and they can work together. So we ran a workshop teaching most of the tools how to use it and strengthen the team themselves and that they could like continue working together. So the team you see here, I think they worked at least 3 years together, and some of them, they're still working now, and 9 years have passed. And so what happened when we done the project? There was an accident that one of our teachers had to give a TEDx speech. So he said, it's kind of stupid if I give a TEDx speech about the students, while the students here, so I could give the floor to the students. And we shared what actually happened. On the day, we had 250 interventions. We had 3,500 people involved. We had 1 million observers passing through. We had massive media coverage. We had like Facebook around 75,000 visits a week with no ads. We established an organization, and we created some new communities. So we made ties between people and public, and different students from different universities met. And we also invited the government to join in. And after the TEDx, there were a lot of applauses, and some people stood up and said, we want to do this in our town as well. So like, okay, so how can we replicate this? So they started making a toolbox and a framework how different cities could pick it up. In three years, this project has grown into 20 different cities. I think now it's been more than 30 or 40. It's been to Cape Town, Hong Kong, it's been to Mexico, it's been to Montreal, Copenhagen, Kaluga in Russia. So a very concrete concept which you can pick up and take. And the Colombian team, they were still running their yearly events, but they became as a coaching team for other teams to build up in their cities. And yeah, this is a map of Bogota, of how many things were happening. So people could interact, go from one place, go the other, participate in activities. Movie was made, and like a short video, and a big party after. So why did it work? It worked because we used some of the tools. So I'll focus only into a couple. So we use design thinking, and customer-centered design. Not what we want, but what do the locals need? How can we empathize and learn from them? We used participatory leadership. So we wanted to include them, teach them some of the tools and the steps to go through, also known as art of hosting. Inspiration from Oasis game. Go one circle together with people and start the second circle and continue the project themselves. And yeah, the urban interventions and prototyping is actually that you go and do it. You don't create big strategic plans or manifestos, but you go and do it and film, and it actually happens. And the key thing is probably it's temporary moments of possible reality. So you show one day what could be different in this town, and some of the things stick, some of the things drop, but it's like one big effect. And we try it all out. So I will not go to the art of hosting, but I will roughly very fast run through. No, I will not go to design thinking, roughly go through the art of hosting. And one of the kind of frameworks that's offered is the Cordic stepping stone, how to involve people. So if you do a participatory process and you want the local to get involved, that's the steps suggested to go through. So you ask the needs, what is needed for Bogota? What do you see not working? Purpose. So what do you imagine your dream would be like? Principles. Would you like together to co-create and support each other and see the future? Yes. People, who else do you think we should invite into this process? Do you know any amazing arts? Do you know other students? Okay, we get together, we offer them a possible concept. 26th of May, we do the 100 interventions. Is it good enough to go? They're like, no, you know, limiting beliefs, it will not work because our culture is like this and Bogota, la, la, la. But you say, it's just a prototype. Can we give it a try? So a prototyping really helps to kick through the limiting beliefs. And then we had some structure. What is happening where? A map. We had a filming team. We had a grupo motor. And we went out and we did those interventions. We filmed them. We harvested everything. We collected everything. There's a test speech. And then we invited the local governments to talk what can be institutionalized and brought to political level. And the reason of why I see these things work, because very often, if you start from political, that's where things start. This is how it's going to be, and we're just going to go. So it's really important not to miss the at least first 4 steps if you want to involve the locals. Yeah, there's a whole workbook. I have a lot of links for you. So there's what do we have now? We have the 101 day website platform where you see different initiatives in different towns. You can get inspirations from different interventions. There's a paper that we've written for Forum Avignon about the effect and influence of 101. Some YouTubes, these are about Colombia and Cape Town, but you can find about different cities. Maybe you find something from yours. There's a Lithuanian version presentation if you want to catch. And art hosting as one of the principles, how we worked and how we invited people and how we built that capacity that once we left, they can continue themselves. So you have the page to Art of Hosting, and you also have a page to their workbook, which is open source. So you get some of the tools we worked. So yes, we only got 20 minutes, so I am ending now. I know that probably will be 1 hour and discussions and more videos to explore this, but that was it from me. I see some text in the chat. I don't know if it's questions or anything. Let me look.
Yes, that's a comment. Take your time and read it, and you can reflect to it. Thank you, Auribas. You can reflect to it after the next presentation.
Yes, thank you.
There will be probably more coming. Okay, so thanks for your presentation. Really interesting example to spread it on a more international level, hopefully more in Europe. As well. And now I would like to give the floor to Rita Orlando from Italy, from Matera, to talk more about the Open Design School as a good practice. She's from the Fondazione Matera Basilicata 2019. So please, I couldn't say the 2019.
No, you excellent.
No, I'm trying. Okay, so the floor is yours.
Thanks all for the invitation. Nice to see a lot of familiar faces, friends that are connected from other European capital of culture. So I see Gina from Plovdiv. We were really together in this strange and amazing journey that the European capital of culture is. So I will share my screen just to tell you a little bit more about the Open Design School. Okay, I think that you can see it now, correct? Can you see the screen or not?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so very quickly, the Open Design School was since the beginning one of the pillar projects of Matera 2019. It is a design laboratory that has been established within the foundation that managed the European Capital of Culture, and it was really the first time that the European Capital of Culture decided to invest in having an internal design laboratory. The idea came from a very simple consideration. A European Capital of Culture is really a big event that requires a year of preparation. We have invested more or less 10 years to arrive to 2019. And it's really an event that involves all the cities, either in terms of infrastructures, material infrastructures, and in terms of immaterial infrastructures, there are people. So the idea was, what if instead of buying or renting all the services infrastructures that we need for the events, we don't design and build them internally. So we transform this occasion into a learning experience for the community and into a participation process and a co-creation chance for everyone. This is the reason why the Open Design School was born. And indeed, it is not a school, it is really a living lab for interdisciplinary experimentation and for participatory design. It is open because it is open source. It was really the attempt to transform into an institution, to create an institution around the principles of open culture, which is more or less a struggle, because when you have the word institution next to open culture, it's very much tricky. Design, of course, was for us meant as a tool for reshaping the city, reshaping the future, and reshaping everything that was connected to this unique chance for our city, which is located in the south of Italy, and geography in this case is very much important. So it was really a small town in a small area of the south of Italy. So neither existing on the Italian map and existing at all on the European or on the global map. So it was really a very huge challenge. And it is a school because it's a place for knowledge exchange. So it's not a school in a traditional way of conceiving a school, but it is a school because here people share knowledge, exchange knowledge, using a peer-to-peer approach. And this knowledge is really shared within a larger community, not within just professionals that work together at the Open Design School. It is based on key principles, not rules. We have these key principles and then other inspiring principles that can be amended at any time. So it's really an open model that anyone can adapt according to the local condition. So it's totally open source. But the key principles of Open Design School are multidisciplinarity and multicultural approach, peer-to-peer learning, learning by doing, and knowledge exchange. We decided to bring together professionals from all over the world and of all ages, and meaning with professional people who have gained enough experience that they want to share with other people. So it's not a matter of having a specific degree, but having really the experiences that one can share with other. And so like starting a knowledge circle. So 1/3 of the people were from the city and from the local region, 1/3 from the national content, and 1/3 from Europe. So in this way, we have also mixed up cultures, different cultural approaches, different geographic approaches, as I like to say. And also we have facilitated the creation of long-lasting networks, because when you put people together, there's really a very, you create trust, you create bridges, and they last beyond, the single experience. So mainly the Open Design School, it's really a place open to the city. So we have activated a process where everybody could really contribute to design, prototype, and create the infrastructure for the European Capital of Culture. So we have set up a process where we have identified different professionals according to the specific project that we had to deliver. Then I'll give you a quick taste later. So the Open Design School is really a place where you can meet a lot of people, and people don't stay here permanently. They come for 3-2 months according to the kind of project that we have to deliver. So this allows us also to bring every time new people in town, new expertise, new cultural experiences, new perspectives, and much more. We have set up an open process of participation, so that professionals at Open Design School work together daily. They almost live together. We have really, this is a social space. We have a very well equipped kitchen as well, and a fully equipped workshop. So we share a lot of time together, and we have an open process so that every week on a regular basis, we share with the larger community the kind of research that we are developing, also the physical prototype, so that everyone can give his contribution, feedback, and mainly people can be really informed about what is happening. Of course, being a European Capital of Culture, a project that invests a lot the public space and the city as a whole, it is very much important that citizens can be involved into this process of awareness. So they are not just audience, they don't see the event when it's ready, but they can really contribute to co-create the event. They can they can have the chance to play a role within this kind of system. So each Friday there's this ritual. Each Friday we also host experts from different disciplines that work together with the professionals at Open Design School, but then also have a talk open with the local community. We have open lab days where everyone can come, use the workshop, or participate with us with the physical construction of infrastructure. So the Open Design School is a design studio and a factory because it's a place for production. So it's not a place just for research. We do not do research for the research sake, but it's a place where you design solution, you prototype solution, so you have to use your hands, and then you have to build also what you have designed. Because, I mean, we strongly believe that the prototyping phase and the construction phase, it's a very, very key moment into the learning process. Because, I mean, we believe that the construction moment, it's really a way where professionals can also test their capacity, can test their project, and also through prototyping and construction, you can put together also people that have different kind of expertise, but each one of them can really contribute to the final delivery of a project, even though they just screw something. It's a way in which people really feel part of a bigger design. So that's why the Open Design School, it's also a platform for learn. It's mainly, I mean, a new educational model where we try to promote really a peer-to-peer exchange of knowledge, not hierarchical, multidisciplinary, because we are convinced that we have tested multidisciplinarity is the key to solve current and future challenges. Of course, I mean, one of the main inspiring projects of the Open Design School has been the Bauhaus, not the new European Bauhaus, but the original Bauhaus, the one developed by Gropius, together with Taliensi in West and other kind of experimentation. That's why, I mean, we have included and embedded these inspiring principles into the model. And as an educational platform, we have developed a program of internal workshop, community workshop, and open talk. As an educational model, I mean, we are also now working on scaling up this model at European level. We have prototyped and tested this open source school here in Matera for 6 years so far. Now we are in a stage where through another European project that is named DEUS, European Open Design School for Sustainable Development, we are now scaling the model of Open Design School at European level, testing, I mean, the model into 10 European countries. So using it as a new educational platform, so testing it as a way where cultural and creative industries can upskill or reskill and can get in touch also with other productive sector of the society. So breaking the silos between creatives and the markets, it's like that, and also the overall society. And at the same time, we are testing our living lab model. So the way in which we work together with professionals, the community, policymakers or decision makers, to deliver solution for the local context. So, of course, as I said, the workshop is at the core of Open Design School. So we have a fully equipped workshop where, I mean, each one has really the duty and the responsibility also to use his hands, so, and to test his capacity. And through this kind of process, we had the opportunity to deliver a different kind of projects for the European Capital of Culture. So either research projects, but also very material projects. So the first one that we decided to run as Open Design School was a research project on venues for cultural events. Being Matera a very small city, we lacked of big cultural buildings or infrastructure. So the narrative and also the attitude was to use 3 or 4 main cultural buildings or 3 or 4 squares in the city centers, totally ignoring that the city is much bigger and that there were extra resources, extra places that could host cultural events. So the first action that we took was to promote a mapping campaign in the city and in the region as well, because we have involved the entire region with us in this journey. So hiring a group of professionals and starting this mapping campaign that has lasted 4 months, where we have asked all the citizens to guide us through the city and through the region to discover hidden place, abandoned place, unused place, etc. The result was that now we have more than 400 venues mapped for cultural events, venues of which really of any kind. So the small one is 30 square meters and the biggest one is really, really huge. And we have also demonstrated that the majority of them are free to, have the possibility to be used in at any time. And they are in a very good state of conservation. This has started a process where, I mean, we have also guided cultural and creative professionals involved in Matera 2019 to use other places to be really creative, honestly creative, also towards places and towards venues. So also bringing the architectural design phase into a cultural project, which is one of the key, really, to me, element also of a European capital of culture, because things cannot be separate. I mean, places are really essential also for the transformation of the city, and you can have different attitude towards them. We have decided to use also temporary installations, even in places that were not the best where to do it, but it was a way in which we have demonstrated that you can do also extraordinary things if you want to do it and if you involve the right people. And also temporary installation were demonstrations that, I mean, places could be used really in a very creative way. And so we have transformed hospitals, schools, each kind of buildings into something else. So from this mapping campaign, we had like a new geography, let's say that redefined geography of the city and of the region. So the next step was to identify also, I mean, new cultural routes or new touristic routes within the city and the region, also developing new information displays that could guide people through places and give them further information, also providing some experiences along the way. That's why this project was named People, Places and Purposes. So we put together, again, common citizens, cultural and creative industries, and also the local authorities as well. So, okay, so I will be very quick. I will try to wrap up. So just a very, very quick example of what we have to deliver. We have delivered, so from big installations into museums, to installations in abandoned places, contemporary art installations in abandoned places. We have also had the chance to work outside Matera, so in other Italian cities. We have created a pop-up theater in a place that was abandoned, and it was a former playground for children. And we have worked also on accessibility for artists, for people, through participated workshop and co-creation workshops with different kind of stakeholders. And so just to wrap up, just a very quick show of what are the ingredients of the Open Design School: a manual, which is freely available on our website, a customer, of course. That's why, I mean, I said that the Open Design School doesn't work just for the research sake, but works on real solutions to real problems, so real projects that can be implemented and realized. A place, of course, because places where people can gather are, of course, crucial. A staff and a team. A vehicle, because, I mean, working on self-construction, we need also this kind of equipment because we do everything by ourselves. Of course, a fully equipped workshop with digital and manual tools. A space for events and meetings, especially for informal meetings where people can really have the possibility to create networks and build bridge. Security equipment, the kitchen, which is really the core of the school, a shared library where also external people can come and have, I mean, pick books and know more about this kind of open processes, open culture, open design, etc. Musical instruments, because also entertainment and informality, it's very, very important to create teams. And so that's it. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you very much. There's a lot to talk about, I know, but the time is really short. So let's getting back to questions. Aurimas already got a comment in the chat, and I posed a question. I don't know what else, but please, Aurimas.
So Jurian van der Weg, you wrote that you asked similar questions and that the people need a reason to join forces. Make something good happen. So this is very similar. What I liked in our project, that we joined forces, but they were separate projects at the same time. That is really interesting. And then, so we joined forces for one big event, and then we helped each other on the smaller events. And that really helped. And this playfulness, that is just a prototype, just one day, let's try it. It's nothing really difficult. So that helped people to make that step. It's not like from now on you will have to live different, or you have to be always participatory or creative, but let's give it a try. And Agnes, you had a question. There was a so you asked how were the differences in the entrepreneurial spirit in different places, and yeah, how business was involved. So it's very different. Bogota went much better than Copenhagen, because there's a bigger need. People want they see the bigger need, so they act more. Copenhagen is already more comfortable, so it was harder to get people out of the comfort zone. Also, Bogota had the prehistory of doing those things. So Antanas Moscos did a lot, so they knew of those things that they worked, so it was easier to step in. And we had a lot of trust being foreigners in Bogota, so they kind of, oh, Scandinavians came and they offer something. So different places have different things. It depends a lot on the prehistory of the culture, what are the needs, how strong are they, and especially on El Grupo Motor, how is it facilitated, and what other initiatives already existed. We were happy in Bogota that there were already a lot of design universities or art academies, which we mobilized into one. And for businesses and government, this project in beginning, it wanted to be not connected to any business or government, so not to jump into anyone's agenda. This mobilization, it helped later to tackle business. Oh, we need some paint, so we have 10 projects which needs paint. Should we go to some company and ask for help? Oh, we had like 50 projects happening, but we probably need permissions. But when we go 50 people together, 50 projects, usually no mayor wants to refuse it. So many things happening at the same time. And I don't know how later on it developed with business support, but at that moment when I was part of it, they were very careful not to get lost into someone's agenda. And most of the resources were used that the people already had. Someone has some wood, someone has something. So we tried to mobilize already what the community had. Yes. So I think that is it.
Yes, we can't hear you, Agnes.
Sorry. So there's thanks, and there's a lot of material already you showed us, and this is going to be recorded. So I hope the others can a bit browse in the documents you shared with us. So thanks a lot. And can you move on to Rita? Can you read your question, or shall I, Rita? We have a question from our project.
Yes. I can read it. So,
okay.
The question is about spin-offs from this educational multidisciplinary. Okay, this is a very nice question. This is what I'm working on currently. So the Open Inside School, being really an open model, can be adopted by anyone. In this moment, as I told you, we are working also with Mater Hub and other partners from all over Europe on a new educational platform, which is named Deus CCI. That is based entirely on Open Inside School as a model, both in terms of educational platform and either as a new model for Living Lab, where really, you can break silos and work together with creatives, businesses, entrepreneurship, but also with citizens and policymakers. So bringing together all these stakeholders in a co-creation process, which means also taking responsibilities for each of them. So also policymakers and decision makers are like asked to participate and take responsibility on what they promise or what they share. On the other hand, there are already very good examples of spin-offs from people that have been working here at the Open Research School. For instance, there's a group of professionals that have worked here, and they are working now next door to me because I'm hosting them here in the school, even though they do not work here anymore. They are working on an international project whose name is Precious Plastic, because we have worked a lot on the sustainability issues as well. We have always reused the same kind of materials. Each installations has been transformed to reduce wastes, etc. They are now developing a project that we had started in 2019 about reusing plastic to produce, urban furniture. So this is an example. Another example is from a local artisan who has never worked here at Open Research School, but with whom we have collaborated because we work also with local enterprises. So making self-construction do not mean that you are a competitor of local businesses. It's totally the contrary, because we need their experience, we need their capacity, we want to work with them. So we have always involve them into the process. These local artisans have started really to collaborate with us since 2015. And initially it just, worked the wood for the sofa sector. So without any kind of creativity, he couldn't put creativity into his, or multidisciplinarity into his job. Now he has started to, investigate, to play with his machineries as well. He has a very huge CNC that he didn't know how to use. Now he has started his own company with the production of new objects, and he works with architects, with students from university, with other local companies, so to develop new kind of products that he didn't before. So this is the success to me. And also,
really good spin-offs, I would say.
Yeah, also students from high school, they have started to refurbish their classrooms in an auto.
So there is continuation. That's almost just as important as the project was itself.
Yeah, Open Research School
okay, good.
Is still running.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you for your answer. Actually, we are running out of time. There is another question coming from Hurian in the chat, but please, Aurimas, try to respond in the chat, and don't hesitate to use the chat in the forthcoming time, because if you don't get answer right here from our speakers, we will respond forward it in email. So don't worry about it. Use the opportunities we have here. Okay, so thank you for our speakers, and I have to move on to our next part of our session, which is going to be a roundtable, more discussion with our guests, and I would like to give the floor to Aiva Rosenberger now, right away. Thank you.
Thank you, Agnes, and hello from Latvia, from Riga. And I would like to show you Riga 2014 bid book that we made back in 2009. And it's actually sounds quite relevant also for today. I don't know if you can see, but the title is Force Majeure. So today we are talking about pandemic and how the cultural and business sectors can have answers to it. And actually back in 2009, we won the title by asking how can culture have questions and assist in times of force majeures, of different kind of force majeures, not just bad and negative ones, but also some sudden things that happen in our lives. And actually, I will put my presentation on so that we can start. And yes, nowadays we also ask ourselves, what can we do during pandemic and during lockdown? How can we live? How can we work together? And actually, really, resilience that we are talking today about matters, as we have to talk about the cultural sector and the business sector. I would like to start with G7 summit. it takes place tomorrow. And why G7 Summit? Because the European Association for Small and Medium Businesses and Crafts, they have sent an open call for G7 Summit, actually to talk about prioritization of smaller businesses and about their support of reducing emissions and digital divide. And I think it is really worth remembering that small and medium businesses cover almost 99% of all the businesses in Europe, and 2/3 of employment are there in that field. And actually, of course, a lot of people from creative sectors are also representing those numbers. The second sector, of course, we can name that culture suffered also immensely during the pandemic. And now today we are talking about culture, about regions, and about SMEs, and about resilience. So actually, if we talk about what's going on, I'm here to bring some bigger context for the stories that will follow from European capitals of culture. And I'd like to start with some new trends that we are seeing here when talking about these three words, ECoC, regions, and SMEs. Actually, after the first wave of pandemics, I remember that I went to northern Latvia in Vidzeme region, and one of the heads of municipalities told me that actually people have bought out all the empty houses in countryside. So people were moving out of cities because of course, the lockdown and the there was almost no possibilities, as we know, for going around. And actually in Latvia, it's a good case. We still have a lot of forests. We could go there for a walk. But so the houses were bought out. The small shops in countryside had to double their daily supplies for goods just to feed these newcomers in the field. And actually that was a good trend for the smaller shops and for the countryside businesses during these hard times of pandemics. But actually that could be a warning side also to cities, and not just ECoC cities, but cities as such. That there is this new trend starting that maybe people would like to have more sustainable life outside the cities. So another thing, of course, is the new format that we have a lot more today, the online and distant jobs, and how that changes life in the cities, and that does a lot as well. Then, of course, we have to talk about these new trends in entrepreneurship, as we got some interesting stories regarding social entrepreneurship. I would say that I remember back in 2009, we didn't have almost any social entrepreneurship around. That was kind of a new thing. I remember that we founded in Riga 2014, when preparing to it, we founded Riga 2014 Business Club, because we had this intuition that there should be this community spirit, not just between cultural people and inhabitants when preparing the ECoC, but also between a cultural sector and ECoC organization and businesses. Because we understood that we do not want just that traditional relationship of marketing and selling more goods on business side when having reputation of ECoCs in hand. Of course, we were just in our first steps. Now I'm glad to see that there is this common sense in between the new and upcoming ECoCs, that this community spirit should be also built in for relationship with businesses. Because as we heard in a story from Colombia, people were a bit afraid to run into business agendas of some company, so they stayed away from that. But I think here we are coming to this moment that pandemics maybe showed us best, that we have to stay, the whole society has to stay together, and not just in national states and local municipalities, but also in European context and maybe in world context. So that this new community spirit that is in a way escaping any gaps between social groups in society. And of course, I'm so glad to see that nowadays we have quite integral strategies and between ECoCs and regions, ECoCs and businesses. Because we remember that when ECoCs were born, the title as such, and it was the last century, previous century, so we have to really remember that it was about cities, and it was more or less about the year itself. Now we know that the criteria have changed, and now we are talking about ECoC cities and cooperation with the region as such, at large. I remember that Essen in 2010 and then Marseille, Provence in 2013 opened doors wider to this understanding that ECoC means a lot, not just for reshaping the city, but also reshaping the whole region. And this new strategy, I think, is very important, because at one point in European Union, there was a discussion, do we need actually also the European countryside, cultural countryside title? And nowadays, I think it's not relevant anymore because of this strong and integral cooperation between ECoC cities and larger regions. And here we have to really remember also the word resilience that we are talking about today. Maybe have 5 seconds and read these tips. Regarding these tips, maybe you can read them now, 5 seconds. Why I was having these tips on my screen. Actually, when preparing for this small intervention, I was thinking that, okay, now we are talking about depressions, about stresses that people have during pandemics, and a lot of psychologists, okay, have their tips for people what to do then. When reading these tips, I thought, okay, that's very good tips also for cooperation between ECoCs and regions, ECoCs and businesses during these pandemics, times of pandemic. Because I'm very glad that actually ECoCs, I think, is the very best example that already fulfill those tips, because as we see, for example, today we are connected in the field, creatives and culture people, we are connected, and we try to find some answers even in these hard days and times. And of course, every of us, our days is in that way meaningful. And we learn from experiences of each other. As today, I know that 3 excellent examples from ECoCs will follow. And we all are proactive. So I think that to end this very short intervention, I'm really looking forward to having stories from Galway, from Chemnitz, and from Veszprém, and then I will have also my questions to all 3 cities, because I think that we really need to build this community spirit. It's no more business agenda and cultural agenda. If we are talking about ECoCs, we really have to take a new step forward and try to imagine how we can involve businesses in the way that they don't feel as like just someone who is bringing goods or money. So they are the same, they have the same responsibility about community building, about reshaping their city, and cultural people and creative people are here to help it. And actually, in that positive kind of attitude, I'm looking forward to all three stories and then to our small conversation. Thank you so much, and sorry for the for this technical problem.
Thanks. No worries. I will try to share it with the others later on, your slides, if I can get them. So thanks. So could you introduce the roundtablists, Aiva?
Yes.
The floor is yours.
Yes. Hello again to all three of you and others in the audience. And we have here members of Galway 2020. It's Marilyn. Are you here? We can't see you yet. We have Boris Kaiser from Chemnitz. Yes, hello, I see you. Yes, hello, Marilyn. And yes, where is our Veszprem, Andrzej Varda? Are you here with us? I saw your name, so I think that you are here.
Yes, I just joined with the video, probably you.
Yes, hello. And maybe who will be the first one running the story? I think that you already know who is the first one. Boris, was that you?
I think Marilyn should start.
Marilyn, okay, because
yeah,
I know that you shared your videos and ideas so that you have your roles in hand.
Marilyn is a very good speaker, so we will see how much time we will have for us with Boris, but that's why we decided to start with Marilyn. So.
Marilyn, please go ahead.
Okay, do you want to share the video from your screen? It might be easier.
Yes, we can do that.
Yeah, I think just to start by getting to, before we start talking, to get to see our wonderful city and county. So I think when we talk about resilience of cities, it's fair to say that Galway 2020, the European Capital of Culture, had to be really resilient because we were the first to deliver a large-scale event in a pandemic. And in relation to ongoing delivery, we had to be really agile and flexible in our approach to development. I have to say one of the biggest supports we had in the whole thing were the other European capitals of culture. Because as we all know, European capitals of culture are not easy projects anyway. They're large, they bring a lot of issues with them, they bring a lot of good, and it's an incredible opportunity for any region and city to engage. And for us, we really had to completely redevise our entire program and our model for delivery. In doing that, we worked very closely with our partners and developed the first partner-led model for European Capital of Culture. And then we had to learn to work within restrictions. Ireland had 5 levels of restrictions, which level 5 meant full closure of the country. So the level of capacity and engagement with the SME sector, with business providers, communities and volunteers to completely revise our projects for a revised delivery was really quite remarkable. I know from talking to Boris and Varga and others over the last couple of weeks, I know the challenges that are ahead for these European capitals of culture, the resilience of the teams, the brilliance of the teams that already exists, but also with cultural partners and the business and community and voluntary sectors. As we know, a European Capital of Culture is, it's not just about art, it's not just about culture, it's about the broader community, it's about our citizens. I firmly believe that it's about people, place and participation. In Galway, there are a number of new models of funding that were developed within each of the projects. Each project had its own unique funding model. And I think as we go around the table and start discussing those, will be more and more will emerge in terms of new ways of working. But I think we need to find new ways of sharing because all of these models are very unique and very different. And every Capital of Culture is different and unique. And I know that with the new capacity building programme established by the Commission, there's a greater need for sharing and capacity and resourcing between future capitals of culture with past capitals of culture. And I know Boris is nodding his head, but none of us would have ever done this before. So you come into this enormous project, learning and developing and being flexible and being agile right from the beginning. So a pandemic is just one more thing to deal with and to program with and to work with. I might turn to Boris because I've spoken for far too long. We'll keep the discussion very, very round, I think, shall we?
We will, and I'm glad I maybe found a good connection points for the first term. If I'm allowed, I have the video here at hand to share it on my own. So it's another minute that's trying to capture the essence of Chemnitz, at least the essence of that phase that we've been in, because Marilyn, when you suffered on the pandemic with your program, which is really a hard hit, we had this in our bidding phase in the middle of the very decisive year that brought us there where we are now. So what you are about to hear, because it's an original German audio track, because we recorded our bid book in a German version, spoken by the people that actually are the community that made this happen. So it's subtitled, and I hope it works technically.
Mit dieser Bewerbung wollen wir die Europäerinnen und Europäer durch eine Kultur des Machens mit Chemnitz als Zentrum zusammenbringen.
Ja, wir Chemnitzer, wir lieben unser Chemnitz von damals und von heute. Und viele von uns haben auch Karl-Marx-Stadt geliebt.
Wir zeigen den Menschen, dass demokratische Prozesse die Möglichkeit bieten, die Welt nach eigenen Vorstellungen zu gestalten. Menschen aus Chemnitz teilen ihre Ideen mit europäischen Akteurinnen und Akteuren.
Europäische Macherinnen und Macher bewegen Dinge, werden von den Ereignissen bewegt und stellen Objekte her, die andere bewegen.
Unser Ziel ist es deshalb, die Menschen über ihr Interesse und die Freude am gemeinsamen Gestalten zu erreichen und zu vereinen.
Wir wollen Raum für Entwicklung und Experimente schaffen.
Von Brüchen zu Beziehungen, vom Unsichtbaren zum Spot mitten in Europa.
I think there is if I'm allowed, I will actually connect it to a event that just recently happened yesterday. We won the German brand award for the campaign, and which of course could be like a little putting glitter on your already gold shoulders, which I don't want to do. But what was interesting was that the jury recognized one big asset in that campaign that really drove the whole thing, and it was community engagement. So we were especially awarded for the engagement that we were able to deliver during a horrible year, and we had from our reach, communication reach, was the sum of the reach that all the other contestants had in together. Like we reached as many people as they reached together, and that was only possible because our focus was not convincing the outside that Chemnitz is a great place, but convincing the own city to be ambassadors for this very, very special chance. And of course, this included companies as well as cultural activists and actors and people from all kinds. And we maybe you saw it in those pictures. There was a little Berlin who recognized the Brandenburg Gate because we delivered our bid book with a bicycle race of very curious people. a little bit you need to be a little dizzy to do that, but they went for it, and they convinced also companies to join this ride, and so this is I think it's a great starting point for talking about community involvement and involvement of companies, which we will continue today. So I pass to the ball to Andras.
Yeah, thank you. And while I was listening to you, I just realized that okay, I'm a member of this roundtable, but as I listened to Marilyn about their strategy of how to reach out to the companies and involve them to the project, that probably I could sit in the first row and listen and study from her. So later on, I'm sure I'm going to contact you, Marilyn, about your ideas, because from our perspective, we will be in European Capital of Culture in 2023. So I just joined the project 3 months ago, and we set up our plans how to get to these companies. And what is for sure, we are going to find them on a classical way, and of course we will have the offer for them. But what is more important to us, and what we will see is, and it's a bit going back to Boris with this idea that for the bid book you deliver by bicycle. So the whole communication is different than it was a few years or even 10 years or a few years ago. So sponsors are not interested anymore for these classical sponsor appearances in communication. So what I do believe that is the way how the co-branded communication ideas you can deliver to these companies could be the key to their heart. And as much as you can give them information about the project, what is this European Capital of Culture program is about, and as much as you can involve them from communication side and deliver co-branded communication to the community, the local community, and to wider target groups, the more successful could be the program. So that's where we are now in our thoughts, and yeah, later on during the questions I can give you some details about projects that we are in, but that's our main thought about how to reach the companies.
Are you ready for the Veszprém video?
I'm ready, but I would really appreciate if you can.
Yeah, we do. So let's move on. Let's go ahead.
Thank you.
Based on the experiences.
Okay, and now I think that we are at the point that I have some questions to you, and maybe we see some comments in chat from audience. Now I'd like to turn the skins so that we are all used to be cultural producers, we're all used to be presenters or whatever we do in our daily functions, but at some point I think it's very helpful and healthy to try and change skins and try to imagine that we are in the shoes of some other person and to understand better how we can go on and make some new relationship happening. So maybe I can ask you, if you would imagine yourselves as being a business person, in what ways would you like to cooperate with ECoC? Those could be different ways. Maybe let's try to avoid very classical ways of thinking and try to be very innovative business person who wants to change the world and do things differently. So maybe let's start again with Marilyn. And first of all, applause to you because you have gone through all kinds of challenges in this ECoC story and you know them all well. And maybe, yes, if you would be tomorrow a business person, what you would do?
Yeah, well, in a former life, I was a business person and I owned and ran my own business. And for me, I would say to you right now, wearing a business hat, if somebody approached me about coming on board to support a cultural project, the first thing I would want to understand is value. Not financial value, but does the project meet the values of my company, my people, my staff, my team, and my ethos of what I'm trying to do in my business. So for me, it's about cultural value. And we had this experience on our program in Galway 2020. A large scale medical devices company was the primary sponsor of our volunteer program. And it was about the value and the connection between that company and the volunteer program in Galway 2020. And it was the values of the people in terms of volunteering, health and well-being, and civic life of the city. And that's what attracted that company to the project, not the economic impact, you know, and yes, it's good for the city and all the rest of it. As it turned out, not so much for us because there was no tourism in the pandemic, but the values remain the same, irrespective of how you engage. So for me, I would have to say, from personal and professional experience and having delivered value, just very simply value.
But if you would be this business person, so which project would you choose maybe specifically?
It depends on the nature of the project and it depends on the aspect.
But you specifically, no, just yes.
I would choose something around sustainability and the environment because that's what would interest me. I would want to see a greater good. I would want to see how people are connected to that. So I would want to see a connection and participation of people in sustainability. That's what would interest me specifically as a business person.
So really these green and social and digital entrepreneurship notions are very popular today. So Boris and Andras, maybe you could join us now with your ideas.
I'm as a business person, I would have to look 4 years to the future from now. So of course, the shapes of the things to come are maybe a bit raw and not finalized. But if I had to choose through the eyes of an SME, I would definitely go for our MBA, which is one of our flagship projects to come, meaning makers, business and arts, which will be this collider of spheres and of thoughts. We will establish 6 locations in some, one being the center, of course, in Chemnitz, and 5 throughout the region, where we really have this open, collaborative, very heterogenic, vivid venues. That's going to be a special eye on the location, because we talked about changing skins or perspectives. It is the biggest value is, get out of your bubble. Like, just leave your company and go somewhere else and have new experiences. And that's not only, of course, not only true for the C-level, but this needs to infiltrate in a very positive way the whole company culture. In general, I would force my people, if I'm allowed to say so, to go out and search for new places. And thus, I'm looking 4 years to the future. I would start as today, like for a company to experience a new cultural mindset. It needs to change the small things and then sum this up and see where it gets you. Like, try to find a new place for a meeting. I mean, we've practiced this over the last months, of course, mostly digital, but there were creative moments where we tried to meet in real life and bridge distances. And where do we meet? And this caused a whole set of experiences, like how to change small little cultural figures to a broader company mindset. That's what I think. And it is about new values. I totally
yes, it really sounds like a shift of mindset, and that is of this common ground that we all have and common responsibility. I think that that's very good notion that you are starting in. Andras, what are your ideas?
Well, first I have to tell you that I'm not a successful businessman, but if I see around a few friends who are, I just realized that they in a right situation they have the right questions to ask. So first question came to my mind is what is European capital of culture in need to succeed the program? So if they start with this question, then they can find interesting answers. For example, at Veszprém and at the region, we have some issues we have to solve, even in tourist industry. Since we are a summer destination, we're going to have problem with accommodation in the high season for sure. So any businessman who can find out a solution, even a pop-up accommodation or whatever, to solve this problem, or have creative ideas how to extend the season longer and find good ideas for that, the door is open and they are more than welcome. Also, the other part is the public transport. We very much thinking in green solutions, and we have, since we are talking about a region, we have to find a way to the latest part of the region, the smallest settlements around, and for that reason, who has any idea for this kind of green solution, like e-bike fleet or something, bike sharing or whatever, or just somehow arrange the transport, then this is also more than welcome from our side. The other good question could be is what is sustainable for sure? What is going to stay after the program year? Because at the end of the day, at 2023 in December, we are leaving the ship, and these companies will stay here, and probably that will be the key for the success of the program. What can remain after our work? So that is why we need to have a very good relationship with and tell them why is important for them to join us. If I have to mention one project, this would be Code for sure, which will be in Veszprém. It's not a museum; it's a center of digital experience, which is a kind of surrounding sound and digital video content. Probably you met it in Vienna and I think in France, like you can put together contents like Gustav Klimt picture, making live and combine it with sounds and these kind of effects. We are going to have a center of this here in Veszprém, which is really unique in Central Europe. There is no other thing like that. So, and we need content from creative side. So, for example, if I would have a startup company delivering content to this museum or project, that's a hit, you know. So it's just an example. There are so many others, but this is what I can tell
Thank you. Yes, I really want to encourage you, because every ECoC city has some success stories. Really, every ECoC city, and so Veszprém and Balaton also will have their success stories. I'm so sure about it. And you have so many examples before and so many experiences that other former ECoC cities can share with you, because remembering our own story from Riga 2014, it was one of the most valuable things to go around former cities and really ask for practical experiences and stories to share, and not to copy and paste in every case, but just to, you know, to go in that flow and to have that enthusiasm in your vein, because that's really what we all share. So thank you all three. Let's now go to best practices. Some of you already have them in hand. Of some you have told already, but maybe you have some other stories that you would like to share with this community around the computers. And also we have some newcomers in ECoC family here, so that maybe you want to share a few stories in very short. Who will start again? Do we go traditionally, starting from Merlin?
We keep it round. I think it's
we keep the ground. I think we all have a different definition of what success is. I think that's the most important thing to say from the outset. For me, sometimes the best success is not actually the large scale big projects. It's the projects that leave a lasting impact. And for us, it was our community engagement program, a program called Small Towns, Big Ideas, where villages and communities were connected with businesses and artists, and not everyone with a business either, but again connected by the value of who they were, where they lived, and what they were doing. And 78 communities of, and when I say communities, I mean of place or of interest, not just of geography, made the most beautiful projects in their areas that were led by them, with artists, and very local, but very beautiful and completely European. I often think the things that make us very local are the things that connect us as Europeans. Because when we get on calls like this, we talk about all the same issues: rural depopulation, isolation, the pandemic, and so on and so on. We all face the same issues. And that's what became really interesting through the whole Small Towns, Big Ideas conversation. And every European capital of culture has a program similar to it. In Leeuwarden, it was Minskip. In Aarhus, it was Rethink the Village. And these communities connected with artists through communities of place, participation, social inclusion, actually were just magical. And when I close my eyes and think about our successes, I think of the moments that will last in my mind forever. And it is those moments of being in those towns and seeing a town come together to celebrate together, to promote together their place. And a very practical example would be a project called the Lace Project in Headford, where during the pandemic, all the businesses were closed. So they organized the lace exhibition in all of the windows of the businesses across the town. And we all moved from business to business to see the exhibition, to see the work, to see international lace from all over the world in this small village with a population of just over 1,000 people. And that was a really, really beautiful moment, standing in the square. There was nobody there, just a handful of people socially distancing, isolating, and moving together slowly and separately. And it was just really beautiful. So that for me is a measure of real success. when people who ordinarily don't engage in culture and do it in their place. I think that's really important. It isn't about bringing in the big spectacular projects. That's a component of it. But when work arises in a place that you don't expect it, and it moves people and it means something, and more importantly, it connects people, then that to me is success. Because I come back to my point, and I feel very strongly about this. European capitals of culture are about three things. They're about people, place, and participation. And if you use those principles to underpin everything you do, then you really should have a positive experience. So that's my measure of success. It's small, it's simple, but it's meaningful. It's about what it means to people.
And I really think that, as you have said, you need, as a result, that people are they are moved. They have this emotional shift, and when people have emotional shift, so change will happen. Change will take place. So thank you, thanks a lot. And now, Boris, what you are planning to go to?
It's so wonderful. I planned a whole different answer, and now in such discussions, it just turns, and it's that's beautiful.
Sorry.
Because no, it's beautiful because it's always hard to decide. And as I said, I'm just looking at the blurry picture. Of course, we know what we want to achieve with this year and with the development and with the 4 years ahead. And now my answer turned because of this people and places thought. We will have 3,000 garages across the whole city, because garage is a thing here. Garages.
With cars.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting question. Is there only cars behind those very, very many doors? And it is probably a very East European thing, because the Eastern state of mind, that was one of our pillars in our bid.
Boris, just a quick question.
Yeah.
3,000 garages.
Right.
In
what? We have, and I think we have more. I think we have more across the town, but this is automotive city. Like we come from mobility in a very broad scope. We started with locomotives, and then I don't know if many people know this. Audi AG, now a Volkswagen concern part, was actually founded in Chemnitz. So the four rings. This is actually a symbol for the four companies that were here in Chemnitz that started building vehicles. So this is automotive city, and automotive city and this Eastern state of mind combined into a garage culture that we are about to explore. So we are very keen to get to know what is behind those 3,000 garage doors. Is it only cars? We don't think so. We think there is many more to discover, and the biggest, but the key is, how do you convince people to open those places? Because a garage is also a place for hiding and storing very private things, and maybe also have very private thoughts to be exposed in those garages. But we think, and this is where it leads me to where I actually wanted to start. We think that we can mine probably the biggest portion of creativity ever mined in this place, and invite 2 million, 3 million people, I don't know, or maybe we have to cope with the same situation as you did, Marilyn, and no one is coming. And even then, we will have to open those 3,000 places and see what we can do with them, and what's in there, and how much creativity can spark from that. And if I would be a business person, I would try to attend 365 days, 3,000 garages. You can make it. I mean, I would try to attend every single one of them.
Thank you. That was splendid idea, and the sentence. I really have to stop you. These wonderful stories, because I got the message that we actually have to close this part, and so that's why I don't know if Andras, you really have 2 sentences from your side.
I'm sorry.
No problem. Yeah, just really shortly. My favorite from this perspective is the cultural points. This is about the region. As I told you, we are not just a city but a region, and there are very nice small creative projects all around. So we decided to go them and pick them up one by one and make a communication together. What I believe that this will be one of the biggest hits, for the families and guys arriving to the region and find these small jewels and just find it on one place on the website and go there and have fun. And this is for sure what is also make sense to join for a company and to run this project after the program year. And this is one of the most exciting things for me in West Balaton region.
Thank you all, and I think you are splendid examples of resilience, and I really wish you to stay so in that kind of mood, and also to work with your colleagues and in your cities in that kind of mood, because nothing can stop us, nothing can stop culture in one way or another. Thank you all again for joining us, for listening us, and I give then a word back to Agnes.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, thanks. Thank you very much. And we could have thousands of words to comment on, but unfortunately we can only use the chat for another minute or so. And you can see the link how to move on to the next room, which is the original, the morning room, the morning session that continues. But it's you can copy paste from here from the chat as well. Thank you, Iva, very much for your contribution and for all the 3 participants. And it would be perfect to meet in person and have a longer conversation, as we already talked about it. Well, you cannot do that, hopefully next year. Thanks for all of you, the audience and all the presenters, even for those who are left the room. And I just want to say that this is recorded and you will be informed about the recording and the availability in a couple of days. We have to prepare the material. We will correct a couple of things that didn't work. And feel free to use all the information that was shared here. Thank you very much for everybody being here. Thanks, Iva. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.